Welcome to WordPress Basics Module 3, Creating a Post. Hello. Welcome to Module 3 this week. This week, we are back on target. If you were with me last week for Module 2, we jumped down to pages last week, and I had a reason for that. And that basically was, I'm going to go over to the demo site. We wanted to build pages. If you're using WordPress to build a website, the pages would be the area where you would use to build your pages. And that's what we did in Module 2 a little bit. This week for Module 3, we are going to be working with posts. And posts are what make up your blog. And on the home page, and oftentimes you can tell a WordPress, or at least I can tell a WordPress blog, when you go to the person's website and they have their blog as part of their homepage. That's a choice. You don't have to have that. Remember, this is kind of the generic setup that WordPress gives you with the 2011 theme. You can have your blog, or later on in a lesson, we'll talk about how, say you want your home page to be one of your other pages instead. I'll show you how to set that up. But let me just talk about blogs for a second. The blog it can serve as the hub or the central point of your website besides your pages. I mean, let's be honest, these are pretty static. They don't move. They're just information. But what really helps you in Google and Yahoo and all the search engines is when you add something new to your website. And a blog really helps draw traffic to your website when you add something new to it. Like this post, this is the original post. I installed this blog back late last year. And they always give you hello world as a start to the first blog post. So I kind of filled it in with some dummy text a little bit just to kind of fill it out. But notice, say today is I'm in February and it's 2012. As I go through the months and you continually see these dates change, well, Google is, as it searches your website, is picking up every time you post something new to the website, and that adds to your search engine index to Google. So when people are typing in your name and they're looking for you, is a possibility they could find some of your pages, and they could even find some of your posts. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go over here to Google for a second. And I am going to pull up Google search. And let's see, I'm going to type in, because today is drawing close to the Super Bowl, I'm just going to type in football. I'm not a football person, but I'm just going to type it in because I know that's something going on right now. So I'm going to hit search and just kind of see what comes up. But we got definitely a lot of Super Bowl stuff coming up. But if you go to the side, I don't know if you ever noticed this about Google, but they have this more button. If you click more, there is a area for blogs. So I'm going to click that just to see if anyone's talking about football, which I know they are. And when you click blogs, it will show you, these are supposedly blogs. People, the Huffington Post definitely is considered a blog. And it'll show you, the recent, this is what is 5 hours ago and 1 day ago. But it really goes in and it picks up what you're talking about. So let me get another topic. Let's see. I just watched a show. I have cats, but I did just watch a show on Animal Planet a while ago about dogs. So I'm just gonna type that in just to see if anyone's blogging about dogs. Just kind of curious. Well, this isn't. Let's see. Okay, there are a couple of news stations, it looked like, who are blogging about dogs. But anyway, as you can see underneath here, they have the dates 3 hours ago. Date index is 3 hours ago. The Post and Courier 19 hours ago. So you can kind of see that the search engines really do go in and they look for content. So I'm going to go ahead and click that off. I just wanted to let you know that a lot of people ask me, do I have to have a blog? No, you don't. But if you have a certain niche or topic in your business, whether you're in real estate or you do finance, if your business is about coaching or consulting with people, a blog really not only helps draw traffic, but it gives you a way to provide a client or a potential client information that they may be searching for. And if you are reliably, and really if you want to blog, you probably want to think about planning to post content regularly, on a regular basis, at least twice a week, 2 to 4 times a week if you can, but at least twice a week. Set aside some days. It could be, Monday and Wednesday, Tuesday and Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, however you want to do it. But I know a lot of people jump into a blog and they just kind of jump into it. I don't like that word, but a lot of people use the word organically. You really need to, on the internet, you have to plan. So if you want to blog, think about your post in advance, and we'll talk about in a little bit how easy WordPress makes it for you to really plan your blog posts and schedule them in advance. So you can go in this is something I do with my blogs. On the first of the month, I will go in any content that I have for the week. I will go ahead and schedule that for the month, and then I just let it roll. And I will go in during the month and, approve comments, reply to comments. But the actual work of my blogging for the month, I actually sit down and do the first day or, at least the first weekend of the month. So that's something I will do. And just to show you, because I have been blogging, and I know I'm talking a lot, but I kind of want to get you into the groove of blogging. Now, this is one of my websites, and you will notice that it looks nothing like the 2011 theme. I forget the name of this theme that I have, but it's kind of a magazine theme. And I wanted to show it to you because you can really use WordPress when you use it wisely to really organize your content in such a way where it has a nice feel to it. On this website, I highlight African American literature that edifies the soul. And so each week, I actually have posts set up for Mondays and Wednesday for interviews. I feature new book releases on Tuesdays. On Thursdays, I usually host guest bloggers. And then on Fridays, it's kind of open. But that's how I have set up this blog. And that's something you want to think about. And also, these at the top, up at the top here, the very top, these are pages like we talked about last week. But these, and we'll talk about in a little bit, are actually categories. Depending on the theme that you use for WordPress, you can actually set up your categories to be pages. So when a person selects author interviews, which are actually categories, they'll see all the interviews that I have going on. Anyway, we'll get more into that later. Let's jump on over, not to get too far off topic, but let's start by doing the basics. are under post, and we're going to go ahead and add a new post. I think that's what we'll do. So before we do that, let me go into the older post that we have here. This is the Hello World post that you get when you install WordPress. And if you look, it's kind of similar things to last week's page. You can click here or here to edit. You can do a quick edit. Under here with the quick edit, you can change this slug. This slug is kind of what you get. Let me jump back over here for a second. When I click on Hello World, like if I just want to see it by itself, that slug Hello World is something that the search engine will use to bring it up for you. Let's see. Let me go back for a second. Okay. And let's see. I'll continue. I'll talk about more of that in just a second. But you can schedule a post. Say, for example, like this one was added November 25th, 2011. Say I wanted to move the date to, I don't know, January 25th, 2012. If I want to do that, all I have to do is just hit update to change the date. I'm going to go back out to reload, and you'll see where the date used to be November 2011. It changed. I'm going to go back out to home because if you remember, it used to say it here too. So what's the purpose of that? I just showed you that because one, I want to show you what you could do under quick edit. And two, there are times when you're blogging and you may have blogged about something 2 months ago and you don't necessarily have anything new you want to blog about. So you can pull it back up and just repost it. A lot of times people will put repost in front of their title just so people know that, you know, this is something that they did a couple of months back and they're reposting it. So let's go in. Right now we're going to do categories in a second. I don't like that uncategorized. That is what WordPress gives you as a generic. We'll change that in a little bit. You can also add tags, which we'll talk about in another lesson as well. Usually for a blog post, you always want to allow comments. If you remember last week with pages, I was saying you don't necessarily need to comment on a page. But for a blog post, you definitely, to generate traffic, sometimes you do. It is nice to have people leave a comment and you reply to it. Allow pings. Pings is something that deals with the search engines. If someone's talking about your blog post someplace else, you may see something underneath your blog post where it'll show a URL to where it's been posted in another location or someone's picked it up. As you remember with pages, you have published, pending review, and draft. And then you have this make this post sticky. We'll work with this in just a few minutes when we have a little more blog posts to work with. But say you want to always keep a blog post at the top, you want it to stay there for a while, you would click make this post sticky to keep it at the top. You have to be careful with this because if you decide to make a lot of posts sticky, you can kind of confuse yourself. You won't see your most recent blog post if you have too many of these at the top. So only try to keep maybe at the most one, like if you want one to stay up for a couple of weeks. But you'll have to remember to go and take it off or it'll just, linger there. So that's some of the quick edits. Let's see. And if you want to trash or view it, you can do that. Well, let's go ahead and edit this post. We're going to edit it, kind of look at some of the things that you're familiar with. I actually have this in the HTML tab because I copied and pasted this content in here a while ago. And it's better to copy it in the HTML section. As a matter of fact, underneath your post while you're watching this video, if you want to do that, I have that same text, a couple of paragraphs. You can copy and paste it over here. And then just jump back to the visual. But I'm not going to go through this editor too much because we did last week. But, you know, some of the same things that you saw last week. I even mentioned in an earlier post, I think in module 1, it's real easy to get these two editors mixed up because they essentially look the same. I'm just kind of playing around here just to show you some things, you know, if you're familiar with the editor, this is a no-brainer. I'm gonna do I think a bulleted tag here, a bulleted list rather, sorry. And let's do a numbered list. Just for it to show you, you can really format your blog post very nicely. Next week for module 4, we'll come in and add images. We'll show you how to add video and audio to your post. Text can be kind of boring. So with blogs, it's nice to add images and videos to kind of spark, add to the text. But on the side over here, there's the publish. There's, if you want to password protect and make it private, you can do that. You can, even though it's already published, if you for some reason wanted to pull it from the public's view, you can bring it back to draft form. We'll talk about this when we do another post. You can schedule it. In this particular section, I'm not going to talk about these too much, but if you want to have what I call these really short posts, this what we're working on now is a standard post. You can put, as much text in it as you want, but they have a link, a gallery, a status, a quote. If you just want an image, you can use these. So I think I will kind of talk about these in a later video because I actually need to explore these more because this is something new with this. I think the last 2 versions, or maybe when it became 3.1, they added this in here, and I personally haven't really played around with this, but I know a few bloggers who do use this a lot, and I'll probably go to their website and show you examples of how they use it. And you know what? Because I'm not going to use this, I'm going to do something just to show you as an example. I'm going to go down here to categories. And you remember in another video I told you can move these around? Well, if you notice, I'm moving my cursor over this. I'm going to, and I have a cross here, so I'm going to take this and drag it up, the categories. Since I'm not really going to use this, and there's a couple other things down here. I like to use tags, so I'm going to move this up here, and I'll keep featured image down there for now. With this particular 2011 theme, I don't think it uses set featured image, but for this lesson, for module 3, we're going to be talking about categories and tags. So I want to move those up a little bit, but you can move these around as much as you want, for what makes sense for you. That's the nice thing about the WordPress dashboard. You can really customize. As a matter of fact, if you didn't want to see this published, you can just click close and you don't have to see any of this if you didn't want to. So it's just a really customizable back here to make when you're working on blog posts or you're adding new pages really easy. Okay, so I am going to mention one more thing about blogs. And let's see, let me go over here for a second. Oh, I didn't save this. I'm going to update this. It'll let you know if you didn't save it, which is good. So I'm going to go over back to all posts. And I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up a couple of new posts, and I'm going to show you how you can schedule those posts and create some as drafts so you can really see how you're blogging, how this area really can help you with your blogging. So I'm going to go up here and click Add New. And just because I need some text, I'm going to click over here and grab this, some copy. And I'm going to go in here and paste text. Go back up here. I'm going to call this real generic blog. Let's do this. Let's say I was doing a blog series. And I wanted to call it day 1. So I don't really want this to be published in February. I'm going to start the series, say, in March. So I'm going to go over here. Before I publish it, I'm going to click Edit. And I actually want to schedule this for the future. So I'm going to click March. And I'm looking at my calendar on the wall. And we'll go with 6. That's fine. 2012. And this is using military time. So I'm going to put 06. So it'll be kind of 6:30 in the morning. And then I'm going to click OK. So here, you notice if it's something for the future, it doesn't say publish now, it says schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and click schedule. It will let you preview the post if you want to see how it looks in the future. And then if you want to go back, let's go back to all posts just to see how it looks. Okay, so now we have 2 posts in our section. And notice that for this particular one, that I'm going to go over here to all. I think I am. Yeah, I'm there on all. You can see one is published. I'm over here. Hopefully you can see it on the right here. And then the other one is scheduled. And up at the top here where it'll show all your posts, the published ones, and then it'll show you the ones that are scheduled. So right now we have 1 post that is scheduled. I'm going to go in and do another one, a couple of other ones. I'm going to save another one as draft and another one as scheduled. And I think I'm going to show you how to do one sticky one. But before I do that, let's jump back over to the website. And I'm going to refresh this page. And you can see we have we won't see the one we just created because we just scheduled it. But you notice the fancy little work I did in there a while ago is showing now. So let's do that. Let's go back. And I'm going to add a new blog post and give it a different name. Let's say my trip. This is like a title you would have when you were in school. Let's see if I still have my text. Kind of break it up some, my dummy text. But when the first day back to school, you had probably 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, you had a my trip. Now one of the things I didn't do, I think in the last lesson, because I don't like this uncategorized, is you really should check your categories. But I'll get to that in another lesson. Let's see. For this one, I am not going to schedule it. I'm going to publish it immediately. So it says view post. I'm just going to go back over here, reload, and there it goes, my trip. So now you see we have 2 posts on the page, my trip and a repost from Hello World. So you can, and also the cool thing is, and we'll get to this later, there's so much in WordPress. I'm like, I gotta get to this later, because I don't want to overwhelm you. I'm taking these sections one at a time, but you notice WordPress is really good about helping you archive your information. And when we get to the other sections, I'm going to go back to all posts. And, as I talk to you later about the categories and tags, you'll really start to see this is a really powerful way to manage a website. Really powerful. Okay, I'm going to do 2 more posts. Let's just do, we're going to go back to that series that we're doing, say, in March. So blog series, if we can spell. You'll notice I have my fingers just start to move and my brain is kind of following along with it. So let's see, hopefully I still have my paste in place. I do, yes. Just to make this look a little different, my dummy text. Okay. So we have blog series day two, and I am going to, I think the other one I set for March 6th. So just for purposes here, I'm going to set this for March 8th. And we'll do the same thing, have it posted 6:30 in the morning. Remember, this military time. Say, I hope I'm not going to try to calculate later in the day because I know I'll mess up for this video. So we'll click OK, and then we're going to schedule this. And just for purposes, I'm going to add one more blog post. Say you have a blog post that you don't really know when you want to schedule it. You may publish it in the next week or so. So let's see, let me think of a name. We'll just use WordPress class reflections. Maybe you want to type about, how you're feeling about WordPress so far. But say, you're kind of just working on it. You don't want to publish it. You don't want to schedule it. So you can save it as a draft. And I often do that, especially when I'm blogging or setting up posts on my kind of magazine-like blog. I interview authors a lot, so they'll come to me and say they would like an interview for a certain date. And while I'm waiting on their interview to be returned to me, I might go ahead and save it as a draft, just so I know to go back later and have a place to add their interview. So we're going to go back up here to post. And this is how you can see how your blog starts to grow. Right now we have a total of 5 posts. We have this series going that is scheduled. Let's jump over here. 2 of these posts are scheduled for March. And you could be writing these offline in Word, and when you're finished, you might come back and copy and paste them in. We already have 2 published. How do we know? If we go back to our blog, you have 2 that are published, and they're out there for the public. And then you have this one, you have published, schedule, and then you have one that's just a draft. You're not really ready to schedule it or do anything with it, but when you have time, you want to go back to it. So that is creating a post, and we're going to jump into in the next 2 modules or the next 2 lessons in this module 3. We're going to talk about how to categorize. If you notice, all of these are uncategorized right now. Definitely don't recommend that. So we'll talk about that in the next lesson. And also you'll notice there's no tags. Don't recommend that either. So stay tuned and we will meet up in just a few. Okay, we are at the last lesson of module 3 and we're going to be talking about using tags. In the last lesson we talked about categories, and oftentimes I have seen where people kind of confuse categories and tags. Categories really are broad. And in some cases, you can use them for navigation purposes. They're not necessary, but they definitely help you organize your blog a lot better. And just to go back to my blog, for example, at the top you see where it says fiction, nonfiction, authors. Those are really broad categories. And then you see where I have subcategories underneath the main or parent categories. Well, if I wanted to use a tag, that would be more detailed and in-depth. For example, I'm going to just click on, let's see, I'm going to click on one of these author interviews. I think I'll choose this one with Erin Healy. And I just want to show you some examples of what you could use. Now, this is underneath authors, interviews, the category, the parent author, and then a subcategory interviews. But when I'm talking about tags, I would actually go into this interview a little bit and pull out specific tags. Like it's quite possible to use the baker's wife as a tag. It's possible to use her name, Erin Healy, because this particular blog post is about her, so she could be used as a tag. I may use some other things about the book that I can pull out. She talks about some suffering. So suffering could be used as a tag. So when you talk about tags, you're talking about things that are very specific to that particular blog post. So let's go back over to our site and let's talk about, we'll start with this post, my trip. And we will go to the area. Now I don't have real text in here, but we're kind of just talking. Now for you, you may have your tags over here. If you remember in an earlier lesson, I think tags are to the right, but I kind of moved them underneath. I like to have the tags underneath the blog post because as I scroll down, it kind of helps me remember that's something that I need to add. Okay, so let's see. This is a particular blog post. I have it in the authors category under interviews. So say I interviewed an author who's talking about, I don't know, my trip. And say I'm just off the top of my head, hey, I'm an author, so I'm going to think off the top of my head. This is a young woman. She's writing a book, and the book is called My Trip. And she's talking about her trip. Say she went overseas to a country, or maybe she went on a European tour, or she went to Africa, and she visited various countries in Africa. And this book is about her trip. So the broader term or the broader category for us in the people who will visit our website would be, well, she's an author and we're posting an interview about her. But to really help them find her on our website, even more importantly, for the search engines to find this post on our website, it works very well to add tags. And tags actually also work kind of as keywords for the search engine. So let's say she went to Africa. That was let's say she went to South Africa. So that would be one of the tags. What else? Say while she was there, she visited with a particular tribe. She also, remember, she went on a journey to other parts of Europe. So maybe she started her journey. This is an American woman. She started her journey maybe in London, maybe England. She went from London, England. Maybe she went to Paris, France. These are really specific things. And I can go back. Let me go back. And this isn't this is a pretty popular name. Her name's Jane Doe. So just kind of making up things. So this is an interview with author Jane Doe. She's talking about her book. I'll get the name of her book. The name of her book was My Trip. And or let's just do a little bit more. Let's say my trip. Let's call, she is an American traveling, and you can put words or phrases in here. American traveling abroad or overseas. I like that. Traveling overseas. So that's quite a few tags. Notice between all the tags, you want to separate with a comma. So I'm going to click add. And so I have Jane Doe. Her book is, in this case, My Trip. It's about American traveling overseas. She went to South Africa. She met some tribes. I think I'm going to take that one up. If you put in a tag and you're like, that really doesn't make sense, you can also take it out. So I'm going to click this little X next to tribe, and I'm just going to take that out. So say she started in London. She traveled to Paris, France, and maybe the end of her trip, she went to South Africa. Okay? So these are very specific things that are related to this particular blog post. And these are tags. So I'm going to go ahead and update, add these tags to this particular post. Okay? And then I'm going to go back over to the post section under all posts just to see. And now you notice the other entries don't have tags, but this entry does. Okay? So it's quite possible that she may use these tags in other blog posts, and that's okay. So let's take a look at these tags. We're going to go back over to posts, and under it says post tags. And all the tags that she has added, you can see they're over here on the side. Right now there's one post associated, that's that one post that we added all these tags. It's quite possible that she could use, more of these tags with other posts. As a matter of fact, let's go back to all posts. And there's another area where you can add tags. You don't necessarily have to say you're kind of drafting your post and you don't really think to add tags until afterwards you've already edited and it's ready to go. So let's go to this blog series that we're going to be doing in the future in March, and let's just do a quick edit. Under quick edit, remember, it allows you to do a lot of things, very quickly without having to pull up the entire blog post. But let's say as a part of this blog series that we have a quote from Jane Doe again. So we're going to add Jane Doe. Her quote may be about South Africa. So we can add those. And let me go back. I wanted to see if sometimes when you're typing, I'm going to type real slow to see if it'll bring it up for me. But sometimes, depending on your browser, if you're typing, sometimes WordPress will remind you of tags that are in there. But this particular example is not. But that's okay. I'm going to type in my trip again, and then I'm going to click update. Okay, and I'm going to add, let's see, a few more tags. Let's put in my trip again. We're talking a lot about this Jane Doe and her book, My Trip, I can see. But I'm doing this for a reason. And one of the reasons is you really, if you can, try to put at least as a tag for each. You want to make sure you have categories for each of your blog posts, and you kind of want to make sure you have tags for each of your blog posts. Let's see. I'm going to just add a few more just to kind of change them up a little bit. Let's say she's from Texas. Okay, and blog series day 2, we're going to put Jane Doe again. There's a reason why I keep putting these. You'll see in just a second. Let's add, we'll just add another one here. And let's do France. Okay, so all of our blog posts now have tags. And these tags are really helpful. You know, if you're going into Google, and of course Jane Doe is going to be very helpful, but if you went to Google and say you typed in South Africa, remember in the previous lesson how I showed you how it indexes sometimes in hours, you know, like 3 hours ago, 5 hours ago. It is indexing these new blog entries and putting them out there for the world to see. So you have a better chance, especially if you really study keywords, and that's another whole lesson. If you study keywords and you use the keywords that are more likely to people will use to type into search engines, you have an even better chance of your blog posts getting a higher ranking in, say, Google. So these are important things. Now, I put all these here for a reason. I'm going to go back over to post tags, and I want you to see what happens. If you notice, it'll show you your popular tags on the side here, over here on the left. This is called a tag cloud. You might, if you visit blogs a lot, some people use these. Back in the day, a lot of people used these. And you don't see them as often anymore. I actually use them on my site. I'll show you in a second. But the ones that you have the most tags in, for in this case Jane Doe and my trip, they'll show up bigger. And that visually, that works for you to see, oh, okay, I have a lot of tags I have a lot of blog posts that use this particular tag. And that could be really helpful for you. It might pull out, you might pull those particular posts out again. You might check on the popularity of those posts to see, you know, if they're really useful, if you have a lot of them. So those things are really helpful to know. So now you see we have a lot of tags. Now say you're working and you don't really need some of these tags. Like I put in, let's say I have London. Let's say I don't really want England, so I'll just hit delete. It'll ask if you really want to. It's like, okay. So, you know, you can remove and add tags pretty easily. That's not a problem. Okay? So that's it really about tags. So I'm going to go back to posts. And really just to kind of follow up on what we talked about in Module 3, you can definitely, if you plan to blog, you want to plan it out. You want to think about it. You want to think about the day of the week. You want to try to, if you can, write out your blog posts in advance. You definitely want to put them in categories. It'll help you later. And if you decide to do a magazine type blog, like I showed you on my websites, the categories really help. For search engine purposes, you definitely want to look into keywords. Whatever that blog post about, you want to at least try to choose a couple of, they recommend at least 5 keywords that could be used as tags. You want to try to really go through your blog posts and try to pull those out and use tags. All of these help. The whole idea behind blogging, it does really help you put information out there for others, and also it draws traffic back to your website. So if it's something you're willing to do, I hope this particular Module 3 really helped you kind of think really strategically about how you want to use the post section of WordPress. Okay? We will be back here again for Module 4. Module 4 I'm really excited about, because we really have been just playing with text for now. We're going to come in, we're going to talk about images and how you can use those to spice up your blog posts, to spice up your pages. We're going to talk about video. Video is big. Anytime you can add video, people love YouTube. YouTube is one of the most popular websites because people can sit and watch video. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk a little bit about adding audio as well. Audio is nothing to not consider. I mean, people are still big radio fans. So audio is just as important. A lot of people like to listen to books in the car. So, having audio on your website is just as important, or it works just as well as adding any other type of multimedia such as video. So we'll talk about that in Module 4. So stay tuned.